This is the Original Copy Podcast. If this is your first time here, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe. We're trying to hit our 100 subscriber goal. It would help us out a bunch. What's going on?
Not much. Just another great life that we've had on Earth. Obviously, we've been kind of getting to world news. Got a bunch of tariff, trade war situations going on.
It's been big news.
I guess we're recording this, so we've already hit the 90-day pause. Trump came out and said he's paused all the tariffs except for China.
Mm-hmm.
So China got tariffed a buttload. They got hit with like 124% tariff. Not really too sure what the whole goal is. There's a bunch of people with opinions out there. I don't
have a strong one.
I kind of am just like, okay, hear me out, right?
Okay.
We're going to get in conspiracy super fast.
Okay.
So what happened when COVID hit? The market tanked.
Uh-huh.
They wiped out everybody's savings, and then it went right back up.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the thing for me is like, okay, everybody who lost money are like people in like 401ks, individual traders. If you're just a low life person, if you have under $50,000 in stocks, you got liquidated. Like you lost all your earnings, right?
Sure.
A lot of those people sold because everybody every time falls for the bait. The world's ending.
Mm-hmm.
If they're really that scared,
Panic.
they shouldn't have invested in stocks in the first place. If you're that scared and you're thinking about ever pulling money out of a stock, right? You should have bought gold or silver. What's Warren Buffett do? He always tells people, just leave it in there. There's ups and downs. But people liquidate.
I think he's a little bit of a liar, but that's
No. But I'm just like, if you think about it, if you invested in the S&P 500 back in like the early 1900s and you never took your money out, there's plenty of like ups and downs, right?
Yeah, sure.
But you'd still be on like way ahead, right? Like the amount of profit. So these people get scared because the news media scares them. Everyone liquidates, it drops.
Mm-hmm.
All the wealthy companies come back in, buy low, and then it builds up the wealth again. So for me, it's like the same thing happened with COVID. You have this giant freak out, the markets melt down, all the small people lose their money, and it gets liquidated, and then it goes right back up. So it's easier for people, I guess, who have 401ks to gain it back if their company that they have invests like well in their 401k. But if you have like a Roth IRA and you don't know what you're doing, or you're an individual trader, you just lost basically a bunch of money. It also caused the stock market or the crypto market to collapse. It caused like the Japan's trade, like stock market, China's stock market, everything just dropped. But it's like the people who are getting liquidated are the people who didn't know what was happening. It got dropped. They bottomed out. They sold, panicked. The rich or the big corporations, hedge funds picked up those losses, bought low, and now it's just going to go back up.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like, why is there always a similarity? Why do people just not learn?
I don't know. You always know when it's the people like doing the panic buying or panic investing or whatever it is that like aren't normally concerned with that stuff, don't normally buy stocks, don't care about any of that stuff. But then all of a sudden word gets around to all the, just base level humans out there that don't really know what's going on. They catch wind of it and it just spreads like wildfire. And that's where I get skeptical because, I mean, there's room to make money if you do get early on some of these things. But like time after time, it's a pattern where, I don't know, it's just this big rug pull reset and like the corporations end up on top every time for sure.
It also makes me think about who's the first one that gets in. Like, how do people know it's about to turn around? There's
Nancy Pelosi.
I'm telling you, dude, like anybody on either side of the aisle, like I think Doge has talked about they're trying to like do investigations into people that are in Congress because it's like, why are people making buys? Like they're trying to buy stocks for like $500,000 the day before the 90-day pause.
And there's no investigation on that.
Yeah, and it's been happening for years. Like it's always since the beginning of the United States or the market for sure. It's just insider trading. And it's funny because they always talk about it. Oh, we need to stop this, but they never do. And it's because it's all like in the pockets of people just to make money.
Well, and I'll be honest, the stock market is like just publicly traded.
Yeah.
Anybody can get on there, anybody can buy a stock, but there's privately traded stocks outside of the public stock exchanges.
Yeah.
And like that's where the real money's at.
Oh, 100%.
Corporations have access to that type of stuff.
Yeah.
And so we don't even know what they're really making money off of.
Yeah. And it's also weird too because, okay, for instance, if you work at a big company, name any big box store, Target, Walmart, Best Buy, whatever it is, right? They're all publicly owned companies. And normally the people in the C-suite don't have, like, they have the ability to have like stocks and options in their company, but I think they're restricted on like buying, selling, puts, all that stuff. Like they can't just sell and then tank the company and then rebuy. Like there's a bunch of laws against it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't think those people don't talk?
Of course they do.
They're all friends. Like if I mean, think about it. All you have to do is write a letter. There's untraceable. Like all you have to do is say, hey, in 10 days, our stock is going to go up $10. They have analysts that can predict that. If people don't think that they have analysts that share that information, hey, our stock's probably going to drop $7 because we missed our quarter by 3%. It's probably going to drop from $70 to $63. You don't think one of them is just, hey, buy on this day? Like 100%
And I mean,
happening.
if they're a business that's in competition with another business,
Yeah.
why wouldn't they buy the other business's stock? And especially if they know like, oh, like stock splits and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Like you probably have companies that publicly are looked at as rivals, and then they're super working together behind the scenes to cooperate.
Yeah.
Because they know that relationship is more valuable.
Yeah. And I mean, for me, it just shows time and time again, if you're scared about investing in stocks, just buy gold or silver and then just sit on it.
Mm.
Obviously, because the whole point of buying cash is like, what if the United States crumbles and you don't have the money becomes obsolete, which is fine. But then the same people who are scared about that are buying stocks when they have a 401k. It's like, if you're that scared, then don't put your money in your 401k. Just buy gold and silver. Or don't take your freaking money out. Just let it sit there.
Yeah, I buy stocks like a collection. I buy one stock of like anything I believe in or think is like has longevity, and I don't touch it.
Yeah. And that's the fun part too, because you get to watch a journey. You're part of
it's
it.
cool.
You're technically an owner in that company, and you just get to sit there and watch it. You go through the highs and the lows. But some people have no idea what they're doing. And I think that goes back to the education system. And I started thinking about this the other day. It pertains to a lot of things, but we don't really know a lot about what goes on in America. Like if you think about
What you mean?
if you think about it, we don't really know what's illegal or illegal anymore. We don't really know how to invest properly, what it even means to invest nowadays, because it used to mean a lot different that like back 50 years ago than what it does now. Because now everything is so fast. It's all AI programs making trades, telling you when you should make a trade. In the old days, it was like you just had to guess, or it was based off just straight book knowledge or just skill of like understanding stuff.
Or almost like it's like just being a rat in a maze, but it's like there maybe used to be a map of how to like navigate that and get out of the maze. And you're supposed to hand that information down and teach people, and like that's all been lost. And so now we just feel like rats in a maze, and it's like, we're just gonna get ourselves in trouble because like more and more gray areas get created every year, of stuff that it used to be a traditional sense of, that's illegal, or, things creep up to that line of like, well, is that still illegal? Is that not? And then things that, were just normal and fine entirely all of a sudden are, people want to change things or do whatever. But I think the systems that hold everything in place, like you're saying with the school system, that infrastructure, I mean, it's decayed from what it even was, but to start with, it wasn't good for us. And so, I mean, that's like the core of like all your childhood experiences, it's through school and through that system. So I don't know if there's much hope there without like revamping the whole thing.
Yeah.
But, and it's not just the school system either. Everything is like that. It's bad.
Yeah. It's honestly just everything's falling apart. Honestly, at this point, I think it's a really good thing that everything's falling apart because it gives everyone a fresh set of eyes of like how broken something truly was. Because if you keep putting money into something, it's like debt, right? Like if you keep opening new credit cards and paying off your old credit cards with credit cards. Like the problem never stops. But then
Mhm.
once something stops it, everything comes crashing down. But it exposes a lot.
Well, it's
So
like if you had just one of those charitable organizations. It's like, oh, you're feeding homeless children or whatever it
yeah,
is. And it's like you just really get at people, tug at their heartstrings. They're gonna donate all day. They're gonna feel bad for this thing.
yeah,
But if you just show them like that money right there is not going towards anything,
yeah.
all of a sudden they stop paying towards that, and the money stops coming in. That thing crumbles. It's
hmm
it's a great thing to be honest, but
I had,
it's just weird. It's growing pains.
yeah, I had an experience with something that you just mentioned. Um, it's like a like you know what World Vision is?
World vision.
Yeah, so you have a bunch of kids around the country that are in like or the world in super impoverished like countries,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically you sponsor a kid and you give them a super small amount of money a month, by like $15 or something, but at $15 goes towards like their community and like
Right.
all that to give them food, school supplies, whatever, right? And I remember I sponsored this kid for like 7 or 8 years, and then he apparently grew out of the program. He had the same birthday as me, so that way I always remembered, like, basically I didn't forget him. And then he
Mm-hmm.
graduated out of the program, and I was like, oh, okay. I was always get to write him letters and stuff. And then one day I got charged, and I was like, what am I getting charged for? And they're like, oh yeah, this is your new sponsored child. And I was like, I didn't. What? Like I didn't sign that. Like I didn't agree to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, we just weren't gonna tell you. We were just gonna keep taking your money and assume that you wouldn't know. So I had to like call, and they're like, oh, my bad. I'm like, it's not your bad. It's like you didn't ask me if I wanted to. Anyway, so I feel like it's that with a bunch of these like companies and the
Everything's been allowed to become predatory,
yeah
and like that's okay because it's somehow protected by our rights or the American dream or whatever it is.
yeah. So that's why I don't trust a bunch of companies like that anymore. Is because it's like that subscription, right? It like
Mm-hmm.
fuels that machine.
Everything's subscription based too nowadays.
Yeah, and I mean, you can see with everything, like the subscription doesn't just go away. It would be nice, like if you look at subscriptions in like Apple, like if you have an app that has a subscription, it'd be
Mhm.
nice if it was like, hey, you haven't used this app in 4 months. Do you want to cancel your subscription? It's a monthly recurring,
Mm-hmm.
but they're never going to tell you that. They're just going to be like, oh, nope, we're just going to keep charging it. Like,
It's like they'll try to get away with things as long as they can, but unless we say something in mass and like really realize that that's an issue and vocalize ourselves, then they're just gonna keep getting away with it and pushing it and pushing it. But when like humans get together and just ultimately decide, hey, that's messed up, whatever, they quickly get it together, reformat the thing, and they give us a more fair version of it. But then they'll start to game that new version.
yeah.
Um,
Do you think they're going to go from like, because normally it's monthly or annually. Do you think they're going to try to go to like daily or weekly or
well,
hourly?
I think, yeah, you're almost getting at it with the, like, I don't think it's going to be subscriptions the way that it's just like, because right now you can pay every single month or you can pay the yearly price
Yeah.
and you save a little bit of money. But nobody really likes either of those options.
Yeah.
And there's like cancellation fees and all this, whatever. I think they're going to have to move to like whether, yeah, I don't know, just paying for what you use or like how often you use it or whatever. I don't know what their system is going to be,
Mhm.
but they're going to have to listen to people cuz like I just paid like a HBO Max subscription to watch like one episode of something and now
Yeah.
I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to pay it next month, but I wasted however much that costs. And if they would all just get together, like all these companies, they're always trying to have competition and be the first to do something or come out with some proprietary something that, locks you into their ecosystem. So they don't cooperate well at all. But if they would just get things together like, hey, this is how all streaming services are going to operate. We're actually going to cooperate with each other, make the price, lower because we can do that because we're cooperating. And then if everybody had all of the streaming services, they'd all be making more money.
Yeah. But I think the reason it's so expensive now is because no one goes to the movie theater. So they're trying to make up for that profit loss that they've, or that the margin that they've lost. Because it used to be, well, we're going to make all of our money back at the box office or at the theater,
They
right?
used to crush it.
Yeah. So, but now it's like no one's going. So they're like, well, we're losing all our money. And then they raise the prices and they claim inflation and all that, right? It's like, for instance, I think the inflation report came out that it was like at 2.4%. And Netflix, the past 3 years, has raised their prices like 3 or 4 times to be like, oh, well, it's based off inflation. The prices haven't come back down.
Yeah, of course they haven't.
Yeah, but it's just funny to me because it's like it's never been about the inflation. That's just a good excuse for companies to use, and then the prices just stay. And then once they get close to like not bankruptcy, but once they get close to like, okay, we're losing popularity fast, then they drop the prices.
Yeah, but it all depends on like what their competition does too. Like, because if their competition is going to let them get away with something, they'll get away with it more, and then they'll take turns on who's getting away with certain things.
Yeah,
I just don't like that. It seems like some things are just out of control entirely. Like there's nothing to keep certain things in check. Like if you wanted to, call up and have a private meeting with the other, your rival company CEO, there's nothing stopping you. There's nothing stopping you from divulging some information that may or may not help. And the less specific you are in giving this stuff, or, it's like the easier it is to get away with this. And there's no paper trail for anything. There's nothing to stop any of that. There's a million other ways to do it. So, like at a certain point, I think people just need to educate themselves on, one, what are our rights in the first place? What are our securities? And then, I don't know, like how to identify scammers. That's a must-have skill in the U.S. nowadays.
Yeah, seriously. That's an interesting topic you just said, like be educated on like what it means to be like a citizen almost. What if like lawyers are very knowledgeable. What if like a lawyer firm made like a course that was like a 6-hour course that was just like, here are all your rights?
That'd be great, but the problem is they're gonna charge for it, and then it's gonna turn into some MLM.
They're gonna they're gonna charge for it. But like imagine like doing that. Like no one's done that, and I feel like that would give people so much confidence.
The issue is you could put out some really good information on the internet and have it clear as day, everything perfect how you want it. But there's so much bad information that it's all going to get convoluted at the end of the day. Like you could say the right thing, but a million people saying a bunch of wrong things, it's all going to mixed up. And I don't know, it's almost impossible to come out with the truth, like on the internet, convince all the people, because they have to convince each other.
Yeah, it's true.
Like somebody will come out with some revolutionary thing, and then half the comments are just like, I don't know. They like people rush to the comments to see what everybody else says, but whatever the main opinion is, people will latch onto that and go, "Oh, okay." And then when people, change their mind, then those same people latch on to whatever that is. I don't know. I hate that though. It's just a big pet peeve.
So I have a interesting thing I want to talk about. I know I mentioned it to you, but I feel like it'd be a good conversation. So people always talk about, what happens if the grid goes down, if the whole Red Dawn thing happens, or if, a country invades or whatever, right? EMP goes off and everyone has to go back to not primal, but like a life without
50-50.
A life without what it has. Basically go back 30 years from now, essentially. Like I feel like there would still be some electricity, but it would ruin our economy or something like that. The world would go down. So what, like if grid goes down, like what's your like go-to? What are you doing? What's that look like for you? Or like, what do you think how does it play out?
All right. So I'll be honest. I'm going to need some time to prepare, because I really need to get off the grid. And even though the grid is not intact, you still need to get off the grid in my mind. So out in the woods really is where you should be living, and you're going to need a lot of preparation to set up that how you need to. So, I mean, initially I'm going to just try to hunker down, at my location as much as I can, but I'm going to be gathering supplies. I'm going to be making trips to, see if I can go to lumber yards, Home Depot, whatever is available. I'm going to get all my resources, tarps, all that type of stuff, go out to the woods, start building a shelter, try to camouflage the shelter, hide it as much as I can, stockpile food, water, deal with people as little as possible. I mean, pretty much that. Unless somebody brings a problem my way, I'm just going to worry about surviving.
Gotcha. Are you like concerned about like, obviously like guns and stuff become an issue, but like obviously then gas is another thing too.
People will become savages in an instant. Like like we already can't trust people. I already don't trust people, but I'm for sure not trusting anybody in that situation. Gasoline and pretty much any consumables, all super valuable resources. And you're almost gonna, at a certain point, like day one, you might be able to go to a store, get some supplies, do whatever.
Yeah.
Everybody else would be doing the same thing. They're focused on what they're doing. They're not a threat. 2 weeks in, don't go to a Walmart.
There's gonna be
That's
gangs
a death trap.
everywhere, dude. Like,
absolutely.
People don't realize that gangs, not like we see today, but full Walking Dead gangs are gonna form, and it's gonna be those who know how to siphon gas tanks like that are under gas stations. So there's going to be a gang at every gas station charging an arm and a leg for gas. And then you're going to have gangs that are trying to siphon out of cars and rob cars at gunpoint. And then you're going to have people. Yeah. So it's going to be, like you said, crazy
madness.
Yeah.
The issue too is like, I think a lot of, because you're going to have people that are in shelters essentially and like just isolated as much as possible. And then you've got people that are out in the world, have to deal with all these, savages. And that culture out there, it's going to get real Mad Max real quick. Like these people are going to, I don't know, they turn from being civilized-ish people into like this crazy, I don't know, I think drugs will run rampant.
Yep.
Even in that chaotic world, that somehow will be a main priority, especially because like we've seen like crackheads, get superpowers or things like that, or like meth, people tweaking out, doing some crazy stuff. But I think if your whole life was just savagery and doing all that stuff, like meth would be a great thing for you and your gang out there.
Yeah.
Like as bad as that is,
I
think that's how they'd look at it. So that just adds a whole nother level of danger.
Yeah. It's weird because there's a bunch of movies that, The Quiet Place,
It makes me think of Fallout a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Walking Dead, Zombieland. Like, there's a bunch of movies where you can, and I think a lot of people are gonna do that. They're just gonna go to in their head, like, oh, what are all the Hollywood movies that I saw? What can I do there? But I think just the amount of, like you were saying, Mad Max, like the amount of death, like there's gonna be bodies everywhere.
I almost like don't even want to divulge like like really what I'd be doing, but like of course there's that preparation, but at a certain point, like in your survival, you got to learn how to like take some people out efficiently.
Yep.
And, from concealment or as undetectable as possible. So I'd be out there working on some sniper skills for sure. Like a real sniper, one that you don't see, like that type of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd be the move.
Yeah, I think for me, it's about like pre-planning. So like knowing where you're going to go. Do you have that either memorized or on, because the grid's going down, so you don't have your phone. So it's like people are going to have like Starlink. Like, okay, is that going to still be, because the satellites are still up in space, right? So it's like they'll still be there. So it's like those who have Starlink, if you have it, then you're going to be set for communication if you need it. Then it's like, okay, how long is it going to take for the United States government to retake control of all the crazy citizens and the military? That's going to be a big thing. I think a lot of the people, though, would band together just for community's sake and try to help. I think there'd be a lot of people helping each other, kind of pooling resources for sure. But there'd be the operators that like live in the societies that were Navy SEALs or Green Berets or whatever, and they're going to be the ones who are in charge of these communities, and they're going to get 10 or 11 people, teach them all the CQB, all the training super quickly and say, hey, we're going to go and find food and water. And it's going to turn into like Iraq very, very quickly. And I think there's going to be a lot of people, though. I think that like the main death or the carnage is going to happen kind of like you were saying, is after a couple days of everything being pillaged and looted in Walmarts, those people are going to be going and looking for cigarettes, alcohol, and that's where like the real fighting and the carnage is going to be, is because people are going to run out of their fixes, and then they're going to be going crazy. And it's weird to think about, because like, what if that happens for 3 days and like we lose like 2 million people just from fighting, and then it all ends and it just goes back to normal? Like,
I mean, hey, that's natural selection at its finest, I guess, but that sucks.
For me, I remember, because like when the BLM riots were happening, I just remember seeing like the footage of the absolute trashing of like restaurants and everything. Like all the rioters who went in like with the purpose of like, oh, we're gonna take advantage of a situation and go like get all the food, get all the booze and everything. I have those memories still in my head of like, yeah, what happens when like you run out of partying, or you're too drunk and you wake up and you're sick or whatever. Like, it just turns into people like not having anything.
I think at first those people are going to be around for a little bit because other people will protect them and keep them safe to a degree. But when the chaos initially breaks out and everybody's still in this state of confusion of what's happening and like who to trust or any of that stuff, it's going to be easy for anybody that really knows what they're doing or how they're going to react to maintain a low profile and move through crowds of people like that without really being detected and being aware of a lot.
Yeah.
You know, because those people are just not, they might have some survival instincts, but they're not utilizing them, and they're not like, they haven't honed them, and they're not thinking in the same type of way. So I think that you're going to have that crowd of like, just panicked people.
Yeah.
You're going to have, of course, your, super elite people they almost don't count. They're just ghosts, right? And then like you're going to have like, I guess our class, it's just like a prepared citizen that has some sort of idea of what to do or, what they would do. One thing though, like if everything went into chaos like that, I actually changed my mind about going out into the woods. I don't want to go out into the woods. Maybe that's a good idea, but a better idea is going into the subterranean levels. Like there's subsystems underneath Dallas and all these major cities that most people are not thinking about. If you were down there, it'd be pretty hard to detect you. And yeah, I don't know. I think it'd be pretty easy to stay in some area that you would have complete shelter. You might have a bunch of different routes there, or I don't know. But I think that would be the move. Get a bunch of people, go down into the subsystem, prepare, wait it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Because who knows, like if people got to going at it, or, there might be people that are stocked up on some stuff and then died of something, and they just have stockpiles of stuff and guns and whatever sitting in a house somewhere.
Yeah.
Eventually it's like you just go out and loot, which is crazy, but
yeah, I mean, at some point you have to, because of the food. And it's not even looting based off of I'm hungry to kill somebody. It's like at some point you're going looking for food, and there's going to be people that are gangs trying to go door to door, breaking in. And then, I mean, that's just going to be people. It's like, it's also hard because in the movies, people are so courageous. They're like, I'm just going to go loot and break down the door. But some areas, people are going to be packing, and it's like, you can't just walk through a door. So I think it's going to be like a giant war zone game.
I'll be honest, like if you know somebody's in a house with a gun and they're ready to defend, like, dude, that must be one of the most scary things to try to go through that door.
Yep.
Like, and you're rolling the dice. Like you were for sure rolling the dice.
Yeah. But I think the biggest thing is like getting to areas that aren't, I mean, it's not even like getting out of the city. It's like going somewhere that you're going to be welcomed and safe, and that you can also bring people to as like a safe haven of people that you trust or people that you know. And it's also like being able to make decisions quickly, because a lot of people are going to freak out. And it's like those who act quickly in those first 36 hours are going to make it a long way.
Yeah.
So it's like if they're able to get in a car, and start driving and be like, I'm going to drive for 19 hours straight because you know you're going to be able to get gas because the gas isn't going to run out in 19 hours. You know, and
But would they shut it off?
I don't think they would shut it off because the people who, like those companies, like the corporations, like if they do shut it off,
It would be up to each gas station too, though.
yeah. But that's the thing is like, you see how slow stuff happens nowadays, right? It's like stuff doesn't just turn off. It takes like 3 days for stuff to actually like stop working.
Yeah, but I feel like if like a gas station, because if a gas station owner, like that's his whole life, that's all of his money basically, and then all of a sudden there's no money coming in from anything else. It's just his gas, and he can't get any more. He probably wants to hold on to that.
No, yeah.
They all probably do.
No, yeah. I think for me, I'm like, at a certain point, the gas stations get turned off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, how soon can you get there to make that decision? So it's like so for instance, the gas stations that aren't going to empty, the ones who are going to empty faster are in the cities, like the Costco's and the stuff where there's going to be giant lines, right? And then fights and brawls start breaking out because people want to get their gas. But it's almost like if you have a full tank of gas, you got to get 300 miles away. You got to just start driving and hope that you can just see a gas station that's empty and just pull in and try to get gas. And it just becomes a game at that point of like, I just need to get to where I want to go. Because some people, like for me, I have that place where I know that's where I'm going. And if I can get there, but it's going to take gas.
I feel like, because wherever you're going, it's like once you get there, it's like, okay, now I'm here. I don't really have any other resources. I better have brought all that stuff, or like you better be really prepared. I think like I said, the bunker, that makes a lot of sense. Like subterranean level. I don't really know because that's attached to a bunch of other stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe like a power plant or something.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere where you could go, shut the door, and it's like, good luck opening this thing and whatever. Like I'm locked in here.
Yeah.
And just gather a bunch of supplies before you go, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe something really defendable like a high rise or something, you know? Because somebody would have to, like the military would have to come take you out of there.
Yeah.
But they are probably preoccupied with other things. Like something just defendable to all other regular people.
Definitely. It's also going to be funny because you have the people who are like the billionaires. No, okay, let's not do billionaires. Millionaires.
Okay.
People that have like $50 million and haven't been planning, and then they think, oh, I'll just go hop in my private jet. But then they realize like they don't have a pilot. There's no fuel in their plane, and now their plane is just worthless. So then it turns into those people having to then go and scavenge, and then nobody cares if you're famous or not at that point. And I feel like,
I'll be honest though, they probably just need enough fuel to get to Epstein Island, and they're good.
Somewhere, I have no idea. That's the other thing that's interesting too, is like there's going to be some places that aren't affected as other places are.
100%.
Because there's not going to be a global EMP. Like you can't, like there's going to be some places that are untouchable. And it's like whoever can identify those places first is going to be those with the resources to get there. But for me, it even challenges me. It's like I have to start thinking, am I prepared enough, or am I like ready enough to do what I need to do?
I feel like I don't know if like going somewhere is the move. Like I don't know. I mean, unless there's nukes coming and we have to go. Like,
Well, no. But I'm just saying, like, for me, it's like I know there's going to be chaos. And it's like if you're just solo, I would say stay.
I'm all right. As crazy as it is, I'm looking at it like this. So if you knew that as long as you landed in a certain spot in at Tilted Towers,
Okay.
that you would win and wipe out everybody else there.
That's a Fortnite game, by the way.
Yeah.
Just letting everyone know.
A location in Fortnite, right? And so, like, if you know that if you're in this chaotic area, but you just know exactly how to utilize that chaotic area, you can actually get a huge advantage out of that thing. Resources, positioning, all this other stuff that's going to be really hard to get if you're out there on the edge of the circle trying to scrape it together, hoping to wait for the end. But then that dude that was there at the beginning that got all the good resources comes and wipes you out anyway. Yeah. I don't know. You could look at it either way.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just think like somebody like you just have to have a plan. If you're listening into this, you don't have a plan, you need to make a plan, because when that hits the fan and it's fast, like COVID, we can look at COVID, right? That was like a 3-week thing when people started being like, okay, this is happening, and everyone started freaking out. But it was gradual. It wasn't, there was one day when everyone was like, okay, I'm going to the grocery store, and like the toilet paper sold out. But it was like a 3-week of like, okay, this is happening, and everyone's now hunkering down. So if you're able to realize within the first couple hours, you could get a huge advantage on people, and especially if you have a plan, because some people will also realize in the first couple hours, but then they go to start making their plan and they start trying to plan. So it's like, if you already have that plan, you're already up on 95% of the population who has just been living, just entertained. So
I think really, like, there's only 2 strategies to start out your plan. One, you either need a lot of money because you're going to have to just buy all these resources and stockpile it and have all that stuff ready. Or plan B, you're going to have to learn how to source it and take it in chaos.
Yeah.
You know, whether that's from other people or learning how to get to, you know, whatever you need to quickly. But whatever it is, I don't know. That's like a tough situation too. Because at first, when everything pops off, like, nobody wants to cross the line. It's like everything's in order.
Yeah.
And now we know everything's not perfectly in order, but it's not chaos quite yet. So you don't want to like scramble everything up. So people don't want to just jump to doing illegal things or whatever. But the people that just jump to doing the illegal stuff to source the stuff that they need are going to be the winners 100%.
What do you think is going to be the biggest, I guess, in your opinion, and then just in the general consensus of what you think is going to happen, what do you think are going to be the biggest bartering trades, objects to trade?
Water and ammo.
Yeah. So I definitely think, because I've done a lot of research into this, and there's a lot of videos out there if y'all want to look. There's a bunch of preppers out there that think super deep into it, but like tampons.
Oh, yeah.
Toilet paper.
See, those things are like invaluable though.
Yeah.
They're not worth anything, but they are invaluable 100%.
Yeah. It's those, because like water, obviously you need to stay hydrated. It'll keep you alive, especially if you don't have food, but you need the water.
Yeah, I guess
ammo.
gasoline.
Ammo for sure, because you're able, if somebody finds a gun, if someone dies and they pick up a gun in a street fight or something like that, they're going to need ammo to shoot it, or else they're just carrying around extra weight. So it's like ammo is great, especially if someone needs ammo. You're the one who controls ammo. But that's one of the things you don't want to tell people you have a bunch of ammo. It's kind of like you always carry 5 bullets on you just to trade with somebody if they need them. But
now here's the thing though, if ammo is a tradable asset, like I'm reloading that.
Oh yeah,
I'm getting my money back.
Yep. Frick, I have to sneeze again. But like flushable wipes, probably another big one.
Yeah, most definitely. Or like simple things like ibuprofen, you know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things. And the other big thing, too, is going to be like something I have is cigarettes. I have a bunch of cigarettes and like a bunch of alcohol, because people are going to run out in about 3 months from pillaging everything.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be high ticket item. Be like, okay, I want 2 magazines.
You're not wrong.
2 magazines of bullets for 1 cigarette. And somebody will be like, you got it. Or like a lighter or something, because people are going to find out ways to get warm. They're going to find blankets and stuff. So stuff like that isn't going to be, because like clothes are going to be everywhere. Like you can raid an Amazon warehouse at that point. There's just free clothes, but it's kind of like those small items that can't be reused, like a toilet paper or something like that, or a cigarette. I think those are going to be like big ticket items. The other things is like, people are going to gather around big bodies of water to go fish, because it's like a food supply, right? So people are going to be wanting fishing hooks, fishing line, stuff like that.
That is a great thing to have during the apocalypse.
Yeah. I think it's also going to be interesting to see where people go, because a lot of people are going to go to where there's comfort. A lot of people are going to go to warm areas because they don't want to have to worry about like cold and stuff. But that's where all the resources are going to burn up so fast in those areas that a lot of people just aren't going to be able to make it out. And then you have natural weather occurrences that are also going to happen.
I think it's gonna like there's gonna be groups that form. Everybody's pretty much gonna get their little group together and
Yeah.
try to protect each other. But the groups that survive will eventually encounter each other.
Yeah.
And that's where the interesting stuff is gonna happen. Because when you have these like groups that have already internally formed trust, and then so that almost identifies that whole group as trustworthy, like they can start to trust each other, build, bigger groups of things. That's like at first it's just chaos. It goes to chaos. A lot of people die. A lot of people that just aren't going to make it get weeded out. Then all the good, strong people, they start to like culminate, slowly, but eventually like they, word spreads and it gets around and whatever.
Yeah.
And I think like it'd be totally possible to have a complete apocalypse situation and then rebuild it into like proper society the way that it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And overall it'd probably be like a good reset. I don't know if it'd be perfect, but
It'd also be interesting too, because if you think about a society or a situation with kind of like a, what's the free for all, right? Kind of everyone's on their own. But if it's like a Red Dawn situation, I feel like there'd be a lot of people banding together. There wouldn't be as much chaos.
Yeah.
It would be a lot of people like, hey, we need to get this done.
They're the enemy.
Yeah. So I think that, not saying that it's like any situation's best case, but I think best case scenario is the united people can find that thing to fight against instead of each other.
Yeah.
Which is honestly why you see governments using propaganda and stuff, is because they want to unite their people against something or focus them towards something. So I think something like that would be the best case scenario if the world did go down, of like
You're 100% right.
keeping everybody together, because that way you have like people would be prove to me that you're a citizen or blah 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 blah, like and it's like, okay, these people are wearing uniforms and they're trying to attack us, right? It's like, so it's like
if it was a legitimate zombie apocalypse, that would be fun.
everybody would everybody would work together. Like I seen Walking Dead and I'm like, if you're alive and you're not a zombie, you want your kind to survive. Like you're not, there's some people sure that are going to be,
but they're going to get taken care of quick.
Yeah, super fast. Because people forget, like there's like 200 million people that are, let's say 100 million people that are able-bodied in the United States, right? Who actually could go out and like be not, like they don't have like type 2 diabetes or something that's going to hinder them dramatically in a situation like this, right? Like they don't have like a heart condition or something. So it's like, well, there's going to be a lot of people, and it's not like half of those people are just going to be like out for vengeance and out for just absolute chaos. I'd say probably about 3 to 5 million would be in that mindset, but I feel like everyone else would just try to band together and strongholds. But it's also funny because all like the stupidity in society just leaves. Like everyone just goes back to like, we don't have, like, there's no time for politics. There's no time for political correctness. It's just, it goes back to
it's literally, and we were just saying this last podcast, so like the hard times make, strong men make easy times easy, whatever.
Yep.
We're just going through that as a country is the thing. It's like, it's not even this little, I don't know. It's just like we're getting fed up with everything, and it's like we were tolerating everything for a long time. Something's gonna happen. I'm not saying it's gonna be an actual apocalypse, but like clearly things are like culminating into some form of change.
Yeah.
But if we did have some sort of situation like that, all of a sudden being preoccupied by like something important, all of a sudden all that stuff out the door. We don't care. Like, it's funny how quick people will like change, Like you have people that were on the left, and then I don't know, they feel like they got like thrown in the dryer or something, like, just really tossed around.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden they're like, completely over on the other side. And it's funny to see people make transformations, but
Yeah.
a little bit of like stress or focus, applied from, I don't know, just a little different perspective, or showing things for what they really are, make people switch sides pretty quickly.
100%. It's also nice though, like knowing if you have some place to go, there's like ease about that, or like having that plan is there's like comfort in knowing that like I'm more prepared than 90% of the population.
There's for sure comfort in that. But it's funny because people will say, like, you're paranoid for preparing. But then you're not scared because I'm prepared.
Yeah.
Like,
I think there's a fine line between a hoarder who just uses the excuse to prep to just hoard stuff, and those that are like, well, if something happens, I have a plan and I have the few items that will help me achieve that plan.
and then there's also the actual like paranoid schizophrenic. It's like people try to act like just because you prep that you're actually a paranoid person.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense. Like,
yeah,
you know,
the people I feel bad for is like the super old generation that's like in their 80s and they've been prepping for 50 years and they have hundreds of thousands of dollars that they've spent and it's just sitting in their house. And for me, I'm like, someone's just going to come in and loot you.
yeah.
Like, but the people that actually have stuff placed and have maps and have
That's
like,
how I felt about like the liberals that went and got guns.
yeah.
It's like, you don't know how to use that thing. Put that down.
Yeah. There's a lot, especially like when COVID happened. People think that they watched a movie, right?
Yeah.
The knowledge is just going to come to them. And for me, like, even me and you, when we first started shooting, like, I've seen guns my whole life in movies. And you get one in your hand, and then you realize, is this a real bullet? like you get it in your, like, it becomes very clear very quickly. Oh, like, this is real. Like, this is real. And in that situation, not only are the bullets and the guns real, but starvation is real. Hunger is real. Sickness is real. Like, everything gets real fast. And I think a lot of people also just have mental breakdowns.
Yeah.
Like, I think a lot of people would just go into absolute shock and not know what to do. And it's like, then you have to make the decision because there's a bunch of people that are out there that are caring. But it's like, you have to make that line of like, am I going to let this person starve or am I going to help them?
It's like you see this like you see it in war movies and stuff, but like it happens out in war for sure. Like there's people that are not ready for that and they get out there and then like, I don't know how they talk themselves into it, but they get out there, they panic, they freak out and they're going to get other people killed.
Yeah.
You can't worry about that. You can't worry about that. That sucks and it sounds like super like cold, man. But it's so true. It's like,
It's just the reality of the situation.
I'm not saying you have to trip somebody, you know, and let them be like cannon fodder, but you cannot be helping people out, especially when resources are, you know, scarce.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you have to draw a line of like friends become scarce because then people just want to be your friend because of the stuff you have. Like it turns into that really quickly. If somebody's, because then you're gonna have the people who are trusting way too much, and they let anyone in who's claiming refugee status in that situation, and it's like people are gonna have to put the brakes on and be like, we can't sustain you.
You think favor for favor would be a popular thing where like pretty much nobody's going to be your friend unless you do them a favor. And if you do them a favor, they'll do you a favor. And it's like the more favors you do people, it's like a business transactional relationship. But at a certain point they go, oh, okay, this is a good person. They do good business. You know, I've had, you know, good conversations with them while we're, you know, doing this.
I think it's going to be based off of mutually agreed on topics. And then once you because you have to establish a certain amount of trust on something because people will lie and they'll just try to take advantage of you just to end up killing you or taking your stuff. So it's like, let's say that it's just me and somebody else, just one-on-one, and we just meet and it's like a Mexican standoff, right? And it's like, okay, I need your help and you need my help, but how do we trust each other? Somebody has to say, based off of a line of morals or a favorite video game or something has to be on common ground for them to gain trust.
Because it's tough though. You know what? It's no different. It's just a little bit less trust than we already have. Same processes.
Yeah, I guess
you
that
know,
makes sense.
Because I guess somebody like no matter how much work you have to put in, somebody will put in that work and be a good actor and lie their way through it. And you know, at the end of the day, you're gonna just have to trust people or not. And it's like, I could get on board with like you see some stranger and it's like a little standoff or whatever. It could be. But then you go, hey, you got any water? I got some whatever. You
Yeah.
go, okay. You work something
I
out.
got some
Okay.
peanut butter.
But how many people are going to do that same thing just to get close to you?
Yep.
It's a tough game.
Especially when someone's like, oh, he has ammo. Wonder if he has more.
Mm-hmm.
And then it turns into that whole Hollywood movie, script of like, you trust this person, they're going to backstab you. So it's like, it turns into...
Give a mouse a cookie.
Yep. And it honestly is, for me, whoever has the strongest willed mind are going to survive, because it's going to be a giant headache for a long time. Well, we think a long time. Like it could be 4 months and then things start to go back to normal. But it's like, who's able to...
What if it just never went back though? Like what if it wasn't trying to go back?
I think it would go back to a normal society apart from the United States. I feel like a bunch of people would start forming their own stuff and get back to work really quickly, because community, there'd be some strong leaders that step up, and then everyone would kind of, especially those who are weak-minded, or kind of like we were talking about a couple podcasts ago, those who can't make decisions for themselves want to go to somebody to make the decisions for them. So I think there'd be a lot of big groups. Like we're talking like thousands of people.
It would be like the Wild West a little bit though.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, that's the sheriff.
Yeah. And then you basically, I don't think it turns into it's going to be a lot of, what's the word for kicking somebody out of something?
Exile.
There's going to be a lot of
Banish.
exile, because you're going to have that one person who has that idea that's like, hey, we should take in animals. Like, oh, there's a bunch of dogs running around. We should rescue these dogs. Nope, you're gone. Because it's like, it's people that start coming up with dumb ideas in that situation, you don't even want them to be part of your group.
But that's very true. But then you're going to get like little groups of people that got kicked out.
Yeah.
And then they turn into bandits.
I guess they turn into bandits, or they just all die off. Or
that. Like, that'd be the best situation for sure.
Because for me, like, you're only going to get exiled if you're bringing dumb ideas to the table. Because if your idea is, let's take our resources and do something dumb with them, why do I want to keep giving you food and water? If you're just going to, if my food and water is giving you more dumb ideas, you need to go find your food and water somewhere else. So it's going to make people flip a switch. Maybe their ideas don't change, but they're silent and they realize they need to stay in place, or they leave and it's, they can go do their whole thing somewhere else.
I'll be honest, dude. Just wandering as like a sniper with like maybe one other person, or maybe you got like some little team of snipers somehow, but like as low vis and like, camouflage as possible, 100% of the time, moving around undetected as much as possible, and like having such a large like sighting range, but like you're getting all that information too.
Yeah.
It's like you could really control an area of land with like maybe 4 people.
Oh yeah.
But with the force of like 50, 100, whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I just think that's the best method. If you're not gonna just like camp out, if you're gonna go out or like need to take stuff or defend stuff, like I think that'd be the best approach. The least amount of ammo you're shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of benefits.
There's also going to be a lot of people hunkered down. Like, I don't think there's going to be we see these giant protests, right? Thousands of people in the streets. I don't think it's going to be that. I think there's going to be a lot of hunkering down from a lot of people. Those who are smart are going to be pillaging, going and getting stuff. And then eventually those who get hungry, once people start getting hungry and scared, they run out of stuff, then everyone's going to go out at one time, and that's when there's going to be chaos. But if people can get out, it's all about keeping your ground too.
Here's where I look at it though. Okay, so everything kicks off. It's chaos. Don't go outside. People are going to be outside. They're going to die. It's going to be madness. But once all those people die, it might actually be kind of like empty on the streets.
Yeah.
It probably will be.
It would get easier very fast.
And so taking that idea of like the sniper thing where you have like a team of sniper, maybe you don't need that. That'd be good for like, if you're out on some land or something, but not in a city.
Yeah.
If you were in a city though, like just doing CQB type stuff, clearing buildings with your little group of people, could actually be like kind of, it would be interesting to see everybody get wiped out and then all of a sudden like who's still left playing.
Yep.
It's like a very slow, tactical, methodical, like, yeah, it would just be really interesting and fascinating from like a human perspective of like real humans in modern CQB in like just the setting of that is pretty interesting to me.
Yeah.
Because like even just the stuff we've seen out of like Ukraine, it just being a modern battle is fascinating by itself. But
Yeah.
let alone in like, you know, downtown New York or something.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah.
And it's also crazy because there's going to be people that it's like this is going to give them an excuse to like be an arsonist, be just a straight up murderer, just be
It's
like,
gonna be like the purge for a lot of people. Yeah.
yeah. But I think that's going to happen just in the bigger cities because the people that are living in the outskirts, they're not going to have time for that because they have families. But I feel like the people with
and they have guns.
yeah, but it's like the people with the purge, they're just going to go. I mean, for me, it's like once they run out of alcohol and drugs, they're just going to go crazy. And it's going to be just the purge because you have a bunch of single people, young single people, uneducated who are just going to start like going at it and just because it's fun to them. And then those turn into gangs, but then you have just gang wars going on. Like they're not even going to, I don't know.
It's bad.
Yeah. Like I don't see any other way. Like people who think, oh no, we'll be fine. Like, yeah, there's going to be groups of people that band together, but it's not going to be like the state of Texas is just fine and untouched. Like the only way that happens is if you have like the National Guard come in and be like, we shoot on sight if we see something we don't like. Like you'd have to have that level of force from like a military type thing that says like, if you're caught looting, you just die. If you're caught stealing this, you just die. And I feel like that's the only way that a government organization would be able to stop that type of rioting in that type of situation. Because you have to control the chaos. But if that doesn't happen and the army disbands and everyone just does their own thing, then it's just about who gets the helicopter first. Because whoever can get that and has access to like, I mean, you just play GTA, you know, it's like who can break into the freaking military base and get a helicopter.
I mean, no, that's huge. I was thinking the other day, I want to get a helicopter. It's on my list. But speaking of helicopters, did you see that the one that crashed in New York? It was like right over the Hudson. So
oh, is that the one where like the things came off on the top and it kind of just plummeted?
yeah, it like flipped over
I did
and
see
just
that.
fell like into the water, I guess. All 4 people died. Of course, you're not surviving that.
Jeez.
But I don't know. Every time I see like a helicopter crash, I instantly I'm like, all right, so who's important? What was going on there? Yep. I feel like nobody dies in a helicopter crash outside of like an accident.
They're so common, or not common, but it's like only a few people have a helicopter or have the ability to rent a helicopter. So yeah, it makes you wonder how does person
and how does that thing just break? Like,
yeah,
that's crazy.
Because for me, there's supposed to be a giant checklist into safety and maintenance, and I get stuff happens, stuff breaks randomly. I get that, but this day and age with technology, that I mean, you don't see cars just blowing up on the highway or just veering off.
It's like, yeah, there should have been some sort of inspection. This is a modern helicopter. This is not an old helicopter. Yeah. And for something to break, like the tail piece to snap off how it did, it's like, so that was either, you know, faulty and not inspected, or, you know, if everything was correct how it was supposed to be, but somehow it just breaks if something is moved. Yeah. That's a design flaw in all helicopters, and specifically that one. It's like, there's no way, dude.
Yeah. That'd be weird too. Like, I mean, there's like the Black Ops programs. People know how to sabotage like different aircraft and stuff. Oh, yeah. But that's such a weird thing to get into of like, I don't know. Now you have it's like people that are secret operators that are living amongst these rich people and just waiting for a command. Like,
oh yeah, dude.
It's like sleeper, but not really sleeper agent.
That would be the scariest part about being successful or like rich and famous.
Yeah.
Is yeah, dude. Like, I mean, you would have to be paranoid at a certain point. Like, if you really like if you're not doing anything wrong and you're very PG and like you don't have any controversial opinions, you don't really have anything to worry about. But if you have anything that is slightly anything, like somebody will be coming at you, and especially because you're successful. So yeah, it'd be impossible. Like, you can't trust anybody for anything. Everybody's trying to like get at you some way. Like even the things that you do accept, like you don't fully trust them.
Yeah.
So yeah, even if you died in that helicopter, you probably don't even know who did it. You got so many people trying to do that.
Yeah. I mean, you could look at the Kobe crash.
Exactly.
Like, freak accident. Like there's so many. That's the other thing too. And when there's a bunch of when investigations come out and they're like, yeah, that person shouldn't have done that, or yeah, there's too many of these things that add up of like, oh, they should have called off that flight and they didn't. And it's like, why does that happen? Because it doesn't just happen to like passenger planes. Like this isn't a big thing. It's normally like, oh, a rich person was on that, or an important person was on that, and they were given like the green light. And it makes you wonder, like, was there something sinister involved?
Dude, 100%. And again, I'm gonna bring it up again. So if you haven't seen that movie, go watch it. But in Josie and the Pussycats, which is a great movie, dude, go check it out. Yeah, like one of the first scenes, like they just like crash this plane full of, you know, these like artists or whatever. And it's like, though, how easy it is to, you know, you're a busy person. You fly all over, you know, to different countries all the time. You're just hopping on jets and doing whatever. You hop in there. You don't know who the pilot is. You don't care. Blah, blah. That's not even a pilot.
Yeah.
Like that's the scary thing is like, you have no idea. You've given control to everybody else. You just want it to work.
This pilot's sick today. I have to take over and fly your plane. Like
you wouldn't even know.
Nope.
There's probably like 7 people that would have to talk to each other for you to figure that out.
Yeah. Or like think about, okay, let's say Taylor Swift's airplane, right? So let's say that during her Eras tour or whatever, she went across the world. So it's like, how do you know that, you know, you go to France, that somebody that got given a job there at the airport didn't just go in and do something to your plane? Like anyway, to me it's like you don't know, and I think there's a lot of.
All right, so speaking of that, artists going all the way around the world. So this is sort of like a theory that I've had, which is like these giant jets can be smuggling things.
Yeah, 100%.
Like. And these artists who have zero idea, they could know. They could be fully aware of what it is. But without them knowing, they could be smuggling large amounts of drugs, a bunch of, you know, money or something like that, or, you know, human trafficked children or people or whatever. And that was one of the big things about Michael Jackson in particular. Is so he had like the biggest world tours, and it's always like these big artists you have to watch, like Drake as well, or like Juice WRLD is another example, but a little bit different. But the they have these massive world tours. They're always on these jets. If you look at the budgets for these things, and this is where it gets you could really look at the numbers on what they're spending, and it doesn't exactly add up, like with fuel and I saw somebody break it down, but they could be transporting all this stuff, having zero idea. And then let's say like Michael had zero idea, but they were little kids being transported to Epstein Island on that plane or whatever. Yeah. And then all this stuff comes down. They pin it on him. It was super convenient and easy to do. But like if you really look at it, and I swear they're doing this with like probably little kids. But like you can see which artists get used for, I'll just call it muling, but like Lil Pump for sure, like at his height off of whatever Gucci Gang, I think, or whatever, he had massive world tours, super international all of a sudden, super big in South America. It's like these networks open up internationally, you get put on that market. 6ix9ine is probably another one who's massive in other countries, actually bigger than our country, but like just these artists that, I mean, they look a little bit different nowadays than they used to, right? Like it used to be like a Michael, or somebody like that. But like now, it doesn't even matter. But Yeah, I'm always fascinated because I think
Those people aren't scrutinized. Like,
at all.
if somebody has a bag, I mean, if you're going to a specific country, that country can be super anal and like check, right? So it's like if you're going to Singapore and there's no drugs there, if you land, they're gonna tear your plane apart looking for drugs
Yeah.
because they want to make an example out of a westernized person. But if you go to somewhere that's friendly to the West, right? Let's say even within the United States, and you have someone traveling from, let's say, California to New York or California to Hawaii, it's like when they land and it's their plane, it's Drake's plane,
Yep.
is their stuff really going to be that scrutinized? Or if it's Taylor Swift's plane, like, is someone
No.
really checking her bag?
If you are, no,
Because
nobody checks the bag.
It would be looked at as highly like disrespectful.
They literally, they have a private driver that drives them to the airport onto the strip. Basically,
Yeah.
they get out of the car, walk directly onto the private jet, fly to wherever they're going, hop off that, hop into a car, leave the airport.
Yeah,
Nobody checked it.
They're not going through TSA. They're
Nope.
not checking nothing. And in movies, you see that.
Yeah.
Where it's like, it's very real. And for me, it's like, okay, for instance, NFL teams or basketball teams, right? Like they go through a TSA. People make sure they don't have guns with them. But it's like, at some point, once you get above a certain level of like, okay, you have like LeBron James is probably like that level of like athlete.
100%.
And then above him, it's like no one's checking your bag. Because imagine you're that TSA agent and it's LeBron James is playing. Yeah, you guys are good.
Yeah.
Like, because you want to be that guy who ends up on the news and gets fired because you're made an example of. Because it's like all they have to do is someone makes a call and says, hey, fire that guy. And you're like, you don't want to be the guy. You're going to be like, oh, can I get a photo?
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do. So it's like there's so much.
Even if people wanted to search him, they just don't. Like they can't, the way that they have it set up.
And we're also not talking about like if it's drugs, weapons, whatever. We're not talking about truckloads. It's like if you're smuggling drugs, just a little bit.
I know it could be a lot though.
No, it could.
I'm talking about,
I'm just saying it doesn't have to be a lot.
I'm talking about you have, your private jet. It's like it can be on that runway all day long. And nobody's going to bat an eye. Nobody's questioning anything. Yeah, you could have people, coming in and out of that plane and making up whatever excuses they want. Oh, we're redecorating the interior. We're refueling. We're cleaning this. And then meanwhile, you'd be unloading all this stuff and, however many trips you have to do it.
And they have their own private hangars too.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're running a drug operation, what if you just ran it out of your plane? And your plane just stays in its hangar, nothing leaves in the sense of like, there's not a truck that pulls up, but it's like you can go in there whenever you want and you can exit whenever you want. You can go live inside your plane if you want because you own the hangar. You can go live inside there, sleep in your plane over the night. But it's like there's ways for people that could get around it. I think the biggest thing is money laundering.
Yeah,
It's
definitely
just
money laundering.
taking giant amounts of money because nobody, like a dog's not trained to sniff for money, or a majority of the time they're not used for that. So it's like cartels, people like that, they could easily be like, hey, take this $100 million in cash and drop it off at this location. And all they have to claim is, I'm just going there on vacation. And then somebody they're not even involved. And they're just going on vacation. Someone goes to their plane, takes their stuff off, leaves, refills it with whatever they need, and they hop back on their plane.
I'll be honest. I don't even know if you had a private jet and you got on there and left the country and went to some other, like Argentina or something.
Yeah.
I don't even know if you need to go through any sort of security to hop in your own private jet and leave the country.
I think there's like a, what's
Coming back in for sure.
So TSA pre-check, right? So it's like there's something like that, but like to the nth degree of like, oh, we don't have to because I think it's an insurance thing. Is like, oh, like this we pay this insurance fee or this premium, so that way I can just drive on because I'm a trusted person. So that way I never get. So I think that's what it is, right? I think it's like, this airline or somebody's going to take the fall if something does happen, God forbid, like if somebody does get caught laundering stuff. But 100%, I think that happens.
Going back to China, because we were touching on that early in the episode. Do you think that, like, of course we have this tariff on them right now, but like it's a great opportunity for us because we rely on Chinese technology super hard,
Yeah.
and really the only reason we do that is because it's cheap. But
Uh-huh.
now all of a sudden, hear me out. If that's not cheap, then we might be able to make American things cheaper than the Chinese things. And so if we all of a sudden can make them cheaper, we're going to make them cheaper.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden now we're making, and we weren't making before.
Uh-huh.
Now that we're already making, we can get it even cheaper. But basically what I'm saying is eventually what we rely on, like this Chinese product for everything, we can create our own Chinese product, or close to whatever it
Yeah.
is. But the issue we have with China is that we don't have control over their product development, their QC,
Yeah.
Feedback from customers, all that type of stuff. So I don't know. Do you think we could get like pretty good, like cheap technology wave in the U.S.?
I would say yes, because our citizens have the Bill of Rights and the freedom to do what we want with our money,
Mm-hmm.
whereas in China they don't. So they make iPhones in China, or they used to, right? They make a bunch of stuff there. But if you're a normal citizen in China, you're not allowed to buy those things. So that's only like,
They can't buy iPhones.
well, they can, but they're tariffed, right? So it's like they manufacture all those things in China, but if somebody in China wants it, it's going to cost them like $5,000 for an iPhone. So they'd rather get the Huawei phone or something like that.
Yeah. Those are cool too.
So for us in the United States, we could easily do that. It would take years to do, but if we redistributed the network of like the logistics of the supply chain, like if all that came to the United States, we could make stuff cheaper because people would buy it. Like the demand for American made in America would go up, and you don't have to worry about a tariff, because if China remains tariffed, or you don't have to worry about like the quality, because I feel like quality can be more controlled here in the United States, and there's more trust built in because it's like an American company.
Yeah.
Because especially if it's a public company, publicly traded company, people could just tank that market if the quality control's bad. Like kind of like what we do. Like if something's bad in the United States, we leave a review. Say, hey, don't go there if it's a service industry, or don't buy this, it's terrible, right? But if it's China's product, people don't really have that option, because it's like you can't control where that's made. Like they're making it in China, what are you going to do? But if it's made
Right.
here, I feel like quality goes up. I feel like stuff gets cheaper, and people are going to want to buy it. And then if we stop buying stuff from China, then it's like, where's China going to go to?
Russia.
Well, I
I mean,
but like, is Russia really going to like, if because like,
I don't think Russia cares.
yeah, because like for me, it's like if it's just China now, but it becomes United States and China developing stuff and like cheap products, I feel like you'd want to be on the side of the United States, because it's easier to come to the bartering table with the United States than it is China.
So is the solution to World War III just American manufacturing at the end of the day? Like, the only reason China has any power is because we've let them have all the power.
We give them money because we buy their stuff.
And they've used this relationship and, their technology being so abundant as a tool to like infiltrate our society, pollute certain aspects of things that maybe can benefit them. But if we just had our own manufacturing, our own technology, and did all this, replace them entirely, as far as our consumption goes, there's nothing supporting them.
Yeah, like their income goes away, the revenue goes away, and they're now have to rely on weaker countries to keep that revenue coming in, right? So it's like they rely so much on us, and if we say, hey, we're out, like, or it's not even if we're out, we're half out, right? So we were at 100%, now we're at 50%. They have to make up that under 50% to maintain their military forces, to maintain everything they're doing. And if that crashes and that other 50% that they lost, we take in that 50%, now it's an even playing field. I feel like we're just the top and no one's even close at that point.
Well, I think, it's like it's like us and Russia, and there's a gap between us too.
Yeah.
But it's us, and then and that's like two adults fighting.
Yeah.
And then there's China that's getting in the middle of it, but wouldn't stack up against Russia, wouldn't stack up against us, but because we're focused on each other, they can somehow like play games with us. It's like two people in the ring fighting, and somebody's like throwing banana peels in the ring
Yeah.
from outside, and we're so focused on fighting each other that we're not gonna go out there and, you know, kick their ass. But
Yeah.
if we didn't support them, they would have no stake in anything really. And then, I mean, they're just going to have to self-support at that point,
Yeah. Which would cause a giant revolution because
which would be cool.
yeah. And it's also one of those things because in China, everyone has to work at a super low wage and a bunch of hours.
Mhm.
And it's like if you take that away, then you have people with no jobs, and then you get hungry people, and then with hungry people, you get revolt and revolution. You've seen that all throughout history.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think China, I mean, they could be coming to the negotiating table. I mean, after getting slapped with that 124% reciprocal tariff or whatever it was that Trump gave them, I think they did say they wanted to come to the negotiating table because they do realize that if they get hit with the 100% tariff, the United States will start developing here or, you know, do more in Vietnam or do more in Thailand or something like that, right? So I
Mhm.
think China realized, okay, we need to go to the negotiating table now because if we don't,
Yeah.
it's going to affect them like crazy. But I don't think Trump is going to take that gamble because it's a big gamble, especially when you're talking about something against China. If it's a different country, it's easy to sanction Russia because of the war. It's
Yeah.
easy to sanction other countries, but China is just so big in the sense of the power we've given them with our money.
But the thing is that they're so sneaky in the way that they try to control us
Yeah.
that it's not so like, yeah, it's not so easy to, yeah, you know, label one thing as like the root cause of it.
Yeah.
You'd really have to lay it out there for people, and that's too much for your average American.
Yeah.
And you need your average American to like get on board with that type of thing, because I don't know, it seems like, you know, all these countries nowadays are reformatting where they stand in the rest of the world,
Uh-huh.
and like if we can all get on the same page of like how we feel like everybody is formatting, we'll know what's up. We know where we stand now.
Yeah.
So like just unified I don't know, identity,
Mm-hmm.
I guess, globally. But yeah. What else is new?
I mean, summer's coming up.
It sure is.
Um,
It's gonna be mad hot.
it's gonna be super hot, but something that is gonna be interesting. I don't know. I'm trying to think. There was something with like I want to say like it was like electricity or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's gonna be. I have like a feeling it's gonna be super hot, and something's gonna happen with the power grid this summer. It's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
freak a bunch of people out. I feel like there's always stuff that just happens out of nowhere. That's like, not that I think it's planned, but something will just happen that will throw everything into chaos and like
Mm-hmm.
we.
Like there's always some sort of like, and I think they're planned,
Well, yeah,
some sort of timely event that's like, yeah, puts everybody in a panic, and then there's some sort of like investment stuff that happens that's
Yeah.
correlated at that same time that we just don't get a chance to get involved with. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd say summertime makes sense to me.
yeah.
Not
It's
that I'm-
also one of those things too. Okay, so I don't know if you heard, but like there's people that have talked about like there could be like a terrorist attack like it within the United States or like a
Oh, I've heard of that.
a
yeah.
multi-locational coordinated attack across the whole United States. That would be very interesting because you would think of like, hey, when's the United States gonna be at its weakest? Is when it's hot outside, and you know you really could drive chaos if you cut the grid or did something to transformers or power plants and stuff.
I think that's the big one. Is yeah, either satellites or electricity in general, or potentially some sort of EMP situation. But one of those, like, it'll be a cyber attack of some sort.
Yeah. I also could see mini EMPs being a thing in the future, like kind of like a city or part of a city getting EMP'd.
Well, like, what if you don't need an EMP blast? There's an EMP field that's sort of just being generated in an area. Like, what if you could hack, let's say, a 5G tower and just change that frequency to be an EMP or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even let alone just like chaos cutting, just like you were saying, those telephone towers or like the 5G towers. A lot of people don't have Starlink, and it's just another good reason to get Starlink. But that's the interesting thing too. Like Starlink, I think, is a monthly subscription.
yeah, I'm pretty sure you
So
can
it's
do
like,
it that way.
Would Elon just like make it free in that situation to people? Because if there's no money, if like the system shuts down, nobody can work and they can't pay for it. Does he shut it down? Does he like keep it up for everybody?
See, I don't know because I'm not him and I don't know exactly where his morals are and everything. But if you were somebody that had that power, you probably wouldn't just want to make it free and give it to everybody. You'd probably want to make it actually even more exclusive and only give it to people that can give you something in return and like turn it into a power dynamic.
Because I thought about that. I'm like, it's either going to go one way, like super generous, or it's going to go one way of like, he gives some outrageous thing of like, yeah, you can have, like, I'll turn it on for 2 years for you, but you have to give me $50,000 in gold or something weird. Like,
I mean, I pray I'm wrong, but I'm waiting for the day that he just turns into like Lex Luthor for real.
I still think it's going to happen. Ever since he got into this whole politics thing,
man.
I'm like, how did you get here? Like, I don't understand.
Brother, how did he get there in the first place? Like, how did he get anywhere that anybody knew who he was? Let alone, like, nobody knew who he was at all. Then all of a sudden, everybody knows who he is in like, 6-month period.
Yeah.
And then from there, and like he got introduced as like the smartest dude, the most interesting whatever.
Yeah.
And then everybody's just been like, it's a track record of good ideas and all this whatever, and trust this guy. He snowballed his way there, but he started in a crazy spot too.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that are now not trusting him. You heard about the whole video game thing, right?
What, he lied on about being number one Path of Exile or something?
Yeah.
So he paid somebody to play it?
Yeah, so people are starting people are starting to figure out, like, if he's going to lie about something as small as that, and he did it twice with 2 different video games, if he's going to do that, what else is he not being truthful about? Because if someone's a compulsive liar or they're good at lying, they're going to lie in the smallest ways too. So it's like, okay, this guy who, like, he has no reason to do that. Like, he's the richest person in the world. Like, he doesn't have to play video games, but like the fact that he needed to be number one in that and he had to lie about it just as a little thing in his back pocket that he could just tell people, like, oh yeah, I'm the best in that.
But the thing about that is that he knows what he's doing with that thing. He didn't just lie about something just to lie about it or some random thing. It was like he knew what to lie about, what the lie should be, when to say that, where to say it, and all this stuff for that to become a huge story about how he's number one in this thing. Nobody fact checked anything. Everybody ran with that. And what that meant to everybody that heard that, because like the game he picked, it's like, I don't know, you kind of have to like know about that game. So then anybody that plays that game or has any sort of association, it's like, they feel seen, right? Yeah. And then represented at the same time. So it's like, I don't know, it's a powerful tool. It's the same thing. Like, he's a big troll. Like, he knows how to use media and influence and stuff like that. It's not just like a straight up lie. I mean, even though it's not true, but you see what I'm saying? It's not like he was just lying. It's like a manipulation thing. And that's scary or not good too, but you can at least say like, oh, he's smart, or he knows what he's doing, or there was something behind that, or he benefited from it.
Yeah. But also look at what he's doing now. He has access to a bunch of government systems to see how stuff gets run. And I'm not accusing him of anything or saying anything is in malice, but it's like, it makes you wonder, how does somebody who, I feel there's a lot of stuff. Like, you could even go to the UFO thing. Like, the amount of NDAs he signed, the amount of information that he has, it's like, you see him go on Rogan, and he's like the person who has the most rocket technology, the person that has the most satellites, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't know of any aliens, but people see UFOs and stuff all the time from satellites or just in general." I'm like, "You don't know anything about that?" Like it's just another, to me, it's just another small lie.
That's pretty much, and you know, that's the thing. And I don't want to just like go anti Elon or harp on him or anything, but
No, but it makes you wonder. You have to wonder and be skeptical. Like somebody like you were saying, starting from like they got the PayPal, disappears, and then rises with like Starlink, SpaceX, Tesla. Now he's in like a auditing stage of the government as like a
XAI.
yeah, like all this stuff at once. Like that's a lot of stuff, and it makes you wonder. Like he can't do that by himself. Like he can't just sit there and do everything by himself.
It's like I don't even know who to compare him to.
Yeah.
Like whether it's Rockefeller, because he's like setting up his own versions of systems, and it's like, nope, this is the blueprint. Everybody's gonna do this now. Or like,
Do you think he's the only one with his blueprint, or do you think he's told other people about it?
see, I don't know if he's getting a blueprint from somewhere and just laying out his portion of it, or if he's
That would make sense.
or if he like just knows where things could go or like what direction things are gonna go, and he's just taking advantage of things. Like if he's seen the blueprint and then can like use that to his advantage. I don't know what, but I don't think he's fully acting alone, and I don't think that he's fully clued in on the blueprint. I think he's acting independently a little bit, but he's also tied in with some stuff. But yeah, I think Elon is cut from that cloth.
Yeah.
What his dad was. I think his dad was in the CIA, or and his mom is like, I don't know, something in the intelligence community.
Because he's a dual citizen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many things. I'm not anti-Elon because I haven't been given enough evidence to be like, okay, we can't trust this guy. But there's a lot of things that you just start questioning.
Well, it's like if you want to take all this stuff at face value, it's like, oh, he's a little, intricate or whatever the word is. But no, it's like when you look at all the things, it's sort of like all identifiers of somebody who could totally be raised up in a specific way to do that type of stuff. And then look, he's powerful and successful. It's like, it kind of highlights some questions of like, I mean, one, just being from South America, and then,
Africa.
That's what I meant. Sorry. Slip of the tongue. South Africa. Being from there, but then somehow being so successful and invested in the U.S. at this point, and how, your parents also seem to be, but then how they were over there in the first place, and then what is it, the diamond or a cobalt mine that his dad also owned.
I don't know.
I think it was cobalt, but some sort of mine there. And, that's where the majority of their wealth came from. It's like these weird things. It's like, that could be somebody's story and they're lucky to just be born that way. But when you think about it, no, those people that are born that way are like, that's a small group of people that have the potential to actually have control in any sort of way.
Yeah. I wonder where his like bloodline falls into.
I don't think these people are using their real names at this point, so it's really hard to track.
Yeah. Especially when you start seeing those books like Behold the Pale Horse and like the Byron Trump.
Baron Trump.
Baron Trump book.
Whatever.
Yeah. So it's like you start seeing those and it does make you question, is this actually a real person? Is it the real name? Were they given this? Were they born and said, hey, you're going to take on this persona and live out this reality that we're giving you? You're going to be given everything. But it's like, where does that stem from?
I don't know. And sometimes there's like, sometimes things just happen in cycles too. Like, I don't know. Just one example, like, the Mandela effect, which for anybody that doesn't know is like the idea that sometimes something to be one way and then you wake up one day and it's changed. Something's different. And who knows what could cause that? You could, theorize on that. But that Mandela effect is something that's interesting because I feel like a lot of people experience that nowadays too. Yeah. A lot of people know about it. but it's always super weird and super convincing. It's different than deja vu. But something that's funny about these Mandela effects is like it almost seems like somebody was writing a script.
Yeah.
Like, and it's very tongue in cheek, and it's like they think they're so clever in the way that they're writing it. Like, first of all, the fact that it's even called Mandela effect is because of Nelson Mandela. And Nelson Mandela, you know, it was like, oh, he died in prison in the 90s. Then all of a sudden one day, no, he actually didn't die in prison and he's still alive. And then there was like a later date that he died at. But a lot of people remember him dying in prison. It was this whole thing and blah, 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 blah. They have these memories, and people are on like just website or chat rooms, I guess, you know, given their description of what they remember, and it all lines up. Like they have this whole other story. But Nelson Mandela, like the name Mandela, or just a Mandela in general, is a series of circles overlaid, and it's sort of like it's representative of like I guess people think the whole Mandela thing is like, I don't know, like changing. What would you say? It's like changing realities, but it's like you sort of like hop into dimensions that are all sort of next to each other. But like the idea that it's circles, I don't know. It's like, you see what I'm getting at there? Yeah. Where there's like, it's a pattern of things that are different. It's all based off of the same image, but it's like you made a copy of that. Here it is. And that's how you create the Mandela. But then this Mandela effect of like this thing happens to be named that way. Princess Diana, nickname Princess Di. A lot of people called her that. There's like 3 or 4 instances of her dying, and then she's not dead. And then she dies, and then she's not dead. And it like keeps going back and forth in this, like, it almost seems like reality's trying to figure out what the right version is and keeps flip-flopping, or it used to be for a while. But the fact that it's Princess Di and she keeps dying, and it's like a whole thing, but things happen all the time, and it always seems like something's funny or fishy about it, or like, I don't know. Sometimes it seems like they're referencing something that's already happened and purposefully doing it to copy something. Sometimes it's just like, wow, coincidences happen. But like, do you ever notice that? Like things are very reflected.
I think also it could be just like an generalized IQ test to see like how are people paying attention? Are they okay with things changing? Are they just blind to blatant stuff in front of them? Mm-hmm. Like if one day they changed stop signs to orange instead of red, and then, you know, half the population doesn't remember it changing and half does, and it almost could be like an IQ test as an experiment. And who knows who's running the experiment, but it could be like, do these people remember? And I think the only reason that you would do that is because people want to change history. And if you can change history and cause people to forget stuff, and that could be through a multitude of different like textbooks, it could be just news in general. You get a bunch of people. I mean, you saw it during COVID, right? You had every news network saying the same lie, saying the same thing, getting people to try to believe a certain thing. And that's an extreme example, but if you have small things that you can change, then you can just change history. And it's almost like, okay, if we start super small, then we can scale up. And then if they notice, we go back. And then we keep going. It's almost like a game that's being played by these higher powers of like, can we get people to forget? So
I think you're 100% right. And that goes along with the disinformation that we have going on, and the state of confusion we all live in. So the more, you know, we're less attached to everything than we used to be. So the less attached we are, the more we can, you know, we're just not going to remember anything. And, you know, what is and what isn't gets confused and forgotten about so quickly that I think the brainwashing works even better, if that's even what it is. But yeah, I could see it being like a history. It's just like a long form memory wipe, and they can sort of slowly replace it with whatever. But also, I think it probably works better on some people than others, because some people have zero idea about any of these Mandela effects, and you know, if you tell them about it, they're still like, I don't know, whatever. Some people just learned about this because they noticed one and were like, nah, I gotta look this up. I gotta get to the bottom of that because I know that's not right. So I think some people might be a little bit more sensitive to these changes if that's what they're doing.
What are
But
some big ones? Like I know like the Monopoly Man.
yeah, that's a good one. Star Wars. The famous line Darth Vader says to Luke.
I'm your father.
Right. What's the full line though?
Luke, I am your father.
No, he doesn't say that. He doesn't.
Really?
That's what he used to say.
Oh.
But if you go watch Star Wars now, the original, he says, "No, I'm your father."
Really?
Luke, I am your father. It was
I remember hearing.
now it's no, I'm your father. What?
Yeah.
So that's a huge one. Bernstein Bears to Bernstein Bears.
Oh yeah.
That one's super popular. Man, I don't know. There's a
Fruit
whole
of the
bunch.
Loom. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah, that one's pretty good. I don't know. Some of them I'm like, I don't know. Some of them I'm like, yeah, I 100% believe that. But you know what the biggest cause people say is creating the Mandela effects?
Huh.
You know CERN?
CERN?
Mm-hmm.
No.
So CERN, and this is great. I'm glad we're talking about it. CERN is it's CERN. I don't know what those initials stand for, but it's this research center in Davos, Sweden, or Switzerland, Davos, Switzerland, where they hold the
World Economic Forum.
the World Economic Forum. And so in Davos, basically it's what they have is this thing called the Large Hadron Collider.
Oh,
Right,
yeah,
the
yeah.
LHC. And you've probably heard of that.
Yeah.
So it's, this giant ring that they've created that has particle accelerators in it, and they shoot these particles at, supersonic speeds and crash them into each other inside of this tube. And people debate over what that is, what they're trying to achieve, what maybe possible side effects of that are, all sorts of things. But they sort of believe what they're trying to do is recreate the Big Bang on a micro scale, which first of all, don't do that. Stop doing that. That's like the good positive, like that's what they're supposed to be doing.
They're seeing
story.
if we can create creation, yeah.
But a lot of people say, no, they're not trying to do that. They're trying to create a black hole, create, rip a giant portal over out of something, portal to another dimension. Yeah, all sorts of different things like that. But a lot of people think that when they crash these particles into each other, there's these shock waves that get sent, and that sort of like almost knocks us into a slight, or shifts our reality a little bit, right? So, and every time we do it, we go further and further. And there's different theories on like, you could experience a small shift. Like say there's a current, right? And that current is going to pull everything into the current. If it's close, it's going to pull it in.
Yeah.
You could have a little bit of shift slightly outside of that current, but if it's not strong enough shift, it'll ultimately get pulled back into that current. You maybe have to have a big enough shift for it to actually impact and like stay.
Something out.
So, yeah, there's a lot of theories about that, but CERN is.
I've never heard of
culprit.
that one before.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
But ultimately, I mean, you see all these things happening. There's a reason why the richest people in the world all meet in the same location.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they make movies the way that they do.
And that's convenient too, right? Like
Yeah.
that place is where they host the World Economic Forum and have all those meetings, and Klaus Schwab lives probably. But so it's interesting that is there. That's there. And also in the Bible, or I don't know if it's in the Bible, but somehow, somewhere it said that the devil has a home on earth, and the location of that is it's either Davos or it's just Switzerland. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah, that's not the Bible. It could be like I know a lot of people look for like, what's the word I'm looking for? They go and look for like clues, like different clues that will lead to something, and like that name means Davos, or that name means Switzerland, or something like that. And also,
yeah, I think that's something like that.
And it could have come out of something from like the Nazi reign, how Hitler was looking for like those otherworldly things. Like it could have come from that time. But I mean, it's also funny because it's like money is the thing that controls everything. Like money's the thing that makes everything keep going. It's the reason that we're talking about tariffs in the stock market. Like at the end of the day, it's just the money, which is just the ultimate control. So if you're going to where everyone's talking about we're in charge of the money moving around the world, it's probably a good place to start looking into like why is everything happening. You could probably go there and figure out why. But it also makes you wonder, like, okay, are all those people in on it? Are half the people in on it? Because it can't be that many people. Because it's like if you have that many egos in a room, it's got to be just a group of like 5 or 7 people.
I think it's like almost like the mafia. Like, you know, these families operate in a more elite way than the mafia does, probably.
And those people that are meeting could also be their representatives, like those
100%.
powerful families. Like it's kind of like what's the lobbying groups, kind of like how they go and lobby. It's almost like the people that they send on behalf of them actually like double agents and actually just work for the families. And then all those people are meeting up and then just having a giant mafia conference.
Well, I think if you were like look at Barron Trump, for example. Like Barron is in a specific situation because of his position inside of his own family.
Yeah.
And then his family's position inside of the world.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to do anything to compromise his own position, his
At all.
family, or any of that. So it's like if you're in one of the, you're not gonna mess that up.
He's
just because
super
you're some
protected
ego,
too.
whatever.
Like he's super protected, like in the sense of like how he was raised, how he handles himself. Like he's very, I don't want to say brainwashed, but he's very like Lex Luthor-esque of like, like that. You can't tell.
He's squared away.
He's not like his dad, just flamboyant and out there. He's very like closed off, reserved, like you don't know his next move.
Well, did you like, you know, you saw the stuff where like he used to be making faces and like and then
and he stopped.
Now he's not doing that.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's clearly a conscious decision, but like good.
Yeah.
That's for the best probably.
And it makes you wonder too, is like, was he told like you're gonna be king one day, Simba?
Pretty much. I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? You know, because Elon he's got a couple kids actually, but you know, he's got his one son. He's always with. Was it Zay? X. Okay, yeah. Yeah. What do you think? Like when he grows up, like his position is gonna be, because Elon's not like a straightforward situation, and a lot of people, you know, what I mean, like he's has Asperger's or whatever, so that's also an interesting thing. But
I don't know. I've thought about it because he has a lot of kids, and his argument is he's just trying to repopulate and stuff. But he's obviously has a favorite, and it's like you don't see any of his other kids with him. It's just that one kid.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder. Like, did he make a decision? Did the kid just look like him enough? Like, what made him draw to that?
Is the kid a robot?
Yeah, like what makes him draw to that child? And it could be one of those things that he like made a decision, I'm going to have 40 kids, but only one of them I'm going to give the keys to the kingdom. And he's just clearly spending time with that kid.
I mean, I'll be honest, only one can really get it.
Yeah, but he's not the oldest.
I know, that is the crazy part.
And that's the weird thing to think about, is like he's not like.
But I think when he had his other kids, he was in other relationships and at a different place in his life, and was probably still like, I think by the time he had X, he wasn't being used by people anymore.
Yeah.
And he, you know, like he'd graduated on all those levels. And I think when he had his other children, he was still like wrapped up and fell victim to just the way things are going to go.
Yeah.
And if that's like a mom that's like, you know, hey, you're successful, I'm going to take this kid and do whatever. Like, okay.
Yeah.
You know? So I think, yeah, he's just more invested because he can be now. And also maybe like, you know, he does need to groom somebody. So.
Yeah. And you got to get somebody ready for that. Kind of like Barron Trump. Like you got to, there's always that one kid. I mean, what's his face? Who's the guy who's like super liberal, that Soros?
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I was trying to think of his name earlier.
Soros did it with his son, and now his son runs his stuff. And it's
What's
like,
his son's name?
Maybe it's George Jr. or something. I don't know. But like, it makes you wonder, like, that person is behaving just like their parent did. And it's almost like they were just molded to take over the family business. And at the end of the day, that could be what it is. It's just the families. Like we've talked about the big families. Like there's just big families, and it's like
There are.
someone has to be given those keys to continue on. It's like,
It's crazy to think like we love to think people can go from nothing to something to everything. It's all nepotism, man. It is all nepotism. Like you might be able to get around like one or two generations without nepotism.
yeah,
But ultimately the families that, keep stuff going like that, like they're gonna outlast you a couple generations down the line. Like you can't own and run something and like hold on to it without it, you
Yeah.
know? Because you don't have trust outside of that. Like basically it's like you're born to harbor this responsibility and we're going to give you everything you need to do to maintain that responsibility. And it's like that's going to get instilled in you. You're going to become that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the way these people operate is way different than like your average person.
yeah,
Just the drive alone. Imagine being born. From the second you're born, great things are expected of you. And then it's like not only is it just expected of you and it's like on your own to figure that all out, but like we have you out training, figuring stuff out and being taught all this, going on trips and like
yeah,
I don't know, by the time you're a fully grown adult and then you still have all this power and access to everything, it's like you go from being the ultimate student with like all the ability to learn to now you know all that stuff and you have all the power.
yeah,
And then the whole time, all the stuff that you know, 99% of the world knows nothing about. So you're also just a magician.
yeah,
Like you can't fail. And then also, if you wanted to tell people like, hey, I'm super powerful and from this thing, cool. Doesn't really make a difference. If you don't want to, cool. Doesn't make a difference.
yeah,
Nobody can stop you. And you've got endless relatives to call that are just as powerful. It's like it's like being Super Saiyan or something. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah, that whole those lives I can't even wrap my head around like what the complexity of those, because it goes in tiers, right? It goes from like super impoverished poor to low class to middle class to upper class to super upper class to multimillionaire to billionaire to top 100 families. So it's like I can't imagine what that even looks like to be in like those top 100 families.
I just think like, dude, you wouldn't even know how powerful your family is. You just wouldn't even know. You would just know. You just don't mess with them. You just go okay, and like, yeah, I think there's that fear that's like intact that keeps everybody in line for sure.
Yeah.
The fear of not knowing, but just knowing it's powerful
Mm-hmm.
is like the best motivator. Because then they're going to learn to hold that same sort of fear over everybody else. That's what they do. Yeah, it's like the only way to ensure that your generations go on and go on. Because the thing is, like we were talking about, the nepotism families will outlast you generations down the line. It's only because they have the fear of like letting down their family or the fear of any of those things. And if you just are all like, you made the good times and you're trying to pass it on, you're going to have hard times when your kid is a weak man because, you know, you weren't able to instill that fear, to be honest. And fear of what? Fear of failure or fear of whatever. It's like, you don't know what failure is until you fail. So how can you fear it? But you could fear letting me down, disappointing me, doing whatever. It's like, as bad as that is, like it sucks to be like, oh, your family wants you to be a doctor. And like, I guess that sucks. But comparatively, you're probably going to end up being more successful if you come from a family like that.
Yeah. I mean, you just tell your kid like one day you're going to rule the world, and you have 100 families telling all their kids that.
It's 50-50 because like if you tell your kid that, they could, you know, they're going to grow up strong-willed and believing they can do stuff.
Yeah.
But if you tell your kid that, you better have some resources to throw their way.
Yeah.
Because if you are of that mindset and you go out into the world and expect all this stuff and you're trying to do all this, like, you're just going to get beat down, dude. Yeah. You're just going to get beat down. And that's the thing I think a lot of parents missed out on, because there was like a pivot in parenting where it was like old school to like these new modern methods where we don't have to whatever. We just respectfully do this. Yeah. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It doesn't all work. I feel like not much has happened in the weeks, like world news wise. But anything on the internet at all
I
of
didn't.
note?
Nothing that I have. I mean, we covered a lot of it. I can't really think of anything.
Yeah, I don't know. Honestly, like I haven't paid attention to anything the whole week.
There's so much.
I haven't even been on X. Our
Yeah,
our,
we
our
should make a.
account is suspended right
So if you
now.
try to follow our main account, it is suspended because people thought it was a spam or bot account. So
Working on getting that back.
yeah, we're trying to get that back. We've already appealed it, but you can still follow both of us for sure.
All right. Well, if there's nothing else going on immediately, before we wrap up and do all that, do you want to? Have you heard? I've got one more thing.
Yeah,
Have you heard of the Emerald tablets?
you'd mentioned it
Did I mention
a
that?
while ago, but like I haven't heard anything
Okay.
about it.
So it's this book that's supposedly written by Thoth, which is like a ancient like Greek god. I don't know. It gets complicated, but
Yeah.
basically he was an Atlantean.
Oh, okay.
So he's like from Atlantis, and it's like if you read the book, it's basically so this is the guy who basically supposedly invented writing as a
Okay.
concept and language and history all in about the same time. So he's that guy. But he's also Hermes from like Greek mythology,
yeah.
like the messenger god.
Yeah.
It all gets tied together. But from his account, he was an Atlantean, lived in Atlantis. I think he says his father built Atlantis or whatever. And there's like this whole story of how Atlantis fell and all this. And it's like really interesting. And a lot of people that are like still looking for it and whatever, they're still pulling out of there. But the way it's structured in like rings and stuff like that, and it's quoted in there, like
Yeah.
that's what people are looking for now.
Yeah.
But his accounts on things are really interesting. And basically, the tablets are like a bunch of different keys. And it's like the initial one is just like, hey, here's my backstory. I'm from Atlantis, whatever.
Yeah.
Then the rest of the chapters basically are just like the keys. And it's like the key of time, the key of freedom of space and movement, the key of, like, I don't have them all off the top, but all these different things. And if you go into each chapter, it basically goes into freeing yourself from different confines, whether it's time, like in and of itself. So like learning how to get in tune with the parts of your consciousness that would allow you to manipulate your own time perception, right? Making things go faster or slower at your own will, not being stuck into the time speed that you're at. One of them is like, the biggest one basically is like this whole reincarnation thing. And it's really interesting because it talks about like the halls of like Anu or something like that. But basically like these giant halls that like when you die, like everybody's soul goes through there and you get like, judged or whatever, however that works. And you get reincarnated according to whatever. Basically this big cycle that everybody's going to go through when you die, and you're going to be stuck going through that forever and forever. And like people in their one lifetime going around this loop, they're trying to figure something out, but then they go back through the thing, start the whole cycle again, and they just keep doing that over and over again. But he talks about basically somehow like at the moment of your own death, and this sounds so like crazy, but at the moment of your own death, creating some sort of vessel to put your soul into somehow, so that when you go through the thing, like you're not like, it doesn't get purified through the fire again. It doesn't get turned into ashes and then created from nothing and like restarted fresh. It's like you could hold on to a lifetime of knowledge, be reincarnated with your previous lifetime of knowledge. So that's basically, if you spent your whole life dedicated to one thing, learning about something just to die, and now you don't know, and then you got reincarnated, you lost it all. But if you could retain it all and live as many lives back to back, working on the same thing, retaining the same information, like how much farther and deeper and more you can understand. But But I don't know, just kind of all over the place and out there. But
Dang, because I've seen photos of people that like, on X, you just see random stuff. But you'll like, I think along the same lines as you see people that like, let's say we'll find this is a random name. I'm just giving a hypothetical, like Shaq, or someone who's of noteworthiness, not Trump, but like someone who's up there, right? Like a Chuck Schumer or someone like that. And it's like they'll like find a photo, Jack Black. They'll find a photo of somebody that looks like of Jack Black, and then find someone who looks just like him, like an identical twin, but that had died 80 years before. I think a lot of people are like talking about that too.
Like the time traveler thing.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if it like correlates to what you were saying or like the time traveling thing, but it's like the person that looks the same, but they like keep going.
Not necessarily, but that is an interesting thing. Like I've definitely seen like early 1900s or late 1800s photos of like Jay-Z at like the horse races or something.
Yeah.
And I think there's a picture of like Obama on a cell phone somewhere.
Oh, there's so many of those. That would be a fun podcast episode, looking for the things that are like maybe they're photoshopped, maybe they're not.
There's a lot of good ones out there, I'm sure, but nowadays who knows? I can't tell, honestly.
Yeah, with AI.
This AI fools me every day.
That'll be a problem. But we've already talked about that.
Yep. So if you want to hear more about that, go check out our previous episodes. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Yep. We're trying to get to 100 subscribers, so if you want to help us out and you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe, give us a like, drop a comment.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. See ya.